I need emergency assistance.
What's your location?
The Wind River Indian Reservation.
This is a homicide.
I knew that girl. She's a fighter.
Why would your daughter run from home?
I don't know why. She didn't tell me. Out here. You cannot blink. Not different.
I got lucky.
That film, Wind River, was inspired by the true plight of many, many women living on this country's Native American reservations. Native American women are the victims of violence at a much higher rate, at 10 times higher than that of other Americans. Last week, the real-life story of the murder of a Native American woman in North Dakota reached a conclusion. A judge sentenced Brooklyn Cruz to life in prison after she admitted to cutting Savanna LaFontaine Graywin's baby from her womb. Now, the details of Graywin's final moments on this earth are simply grisly. She slipped in and out of consciousness as Cruz ripped her baby from her body. That 21-year-old or 22-year-old woman eventually bled to death, but her baby lived. After the sentencing, Graywin's boyfriend and the father of their child talked about his terrific loss.
Every day I'm reminded of her more and more, because every day she grows, she's starting to look more like her mother.
Graywin's murder highlights a deeper problem in our nation. Shockingly high number of violence and sexual violence against Native Americans, particularly Native American women. Representative Norma Torres is a congresswoman from California. She is the author of Savanna's Act. It is legislation aimed for Savanna LaFontaine Graywin that aims to ease communication between tribes and federal agencies who investigate cases of missing and murdered Native American women and girls. And she joins me now from Washington. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. I think many people, first of all, might not be aware of the problem. I am. You are. Do we know what is at the core of this violence towards Native American women? It's not just in America. It's happening in Canada. There are thousands of these women have gone missing, unaccounted.
Absolutely. I think what is at the core of crime against women and girls in tribal communities is the fact that there is a lack of coordination, a lack of information about crimes that are occurring, and we are simply not keeping track and not making them a priority to solve.
How is Savanna's Act going to help change things?
Savanna's Act is going to help in a way that it will finally force communities, local, state, and federal jurisdictions to coordinate and to provide information to each other about crimes that occur. And finally, it will force them to give a yearly assessment to Congress. If Congress was informed about the crimes that go unsolved in tribal communities, I think that more resources would be allocated to ensure that there is enough detectives and enough people on the ground to bring justice to these crimes and things that are happening to women in tribal communities.
It's one of the challenges because these tribal communities are sovereign. Does that make the interconnectivity, the communications more challenging?
In part, yes, and simply because the federal government has not allocated the resources that they need in order to have proper law enforcement in their areas. In many instances, they may have only one police officer to cover a vast, large territory, and they're unable to provide the type of services that you and I often take, for granted.
Yeah. Well, this is Representative Norma Torres, Congresswoman from our